everyone, my name is Orange Raku, and I'm here to talk about when you should purchase this weapon known as the Raiden. Now, the Raiden is a very niche weapon, and is generally you should only ever buy it as either January or as Jill. They are the two characters that make the best use out of the Raiden. Now, as you may know, the Raiden has infinite ammo, which is a big upside. However, it has a really long cooldown in between each of its shots, making it a very slow weapon. So a lot of times it's not enough to deal with, say, a horde of zombies. So it is a weapon you don't want to get in every situation. However, where the Raiden shines, particularly on January and Jill, of course, is against camera builds, so gun builds, Nikolai in particular, sometimes some certain gun Spencers, by being able to put a lot of pressure on cameras. This is an Area 2 camera. With Jill using counter surveillance and EMP2, it takes it down to about 20% in one shot. This puts an incredible amount of pressure on the mastermind to either put up a shield or to swap off the camera. Now, while it may take you some time to be able to fully pop the camera, if you have someone else on your team, let's say you have a Becca or a Valerie down there with a shotgun, you shoot it once, it gets down to low HP, and then they go and pop it, and to just instantly destroy the camera. Now, also, if you have more than one person with the Raiden, so you have January and Jill on the same team, you can also coordinate your shots on the same camera. So let's say you're going up against a Terminal Cheese Spencer, and you have both January and Jill on the team. If you wait for that, like sometimes the security Terminal Cheese Spencer will drop their shield very briefly, maybe even only for like a second, but if you both shoot at the same time, you can drop that camera from 100% to 0 instant. Now, they might not always drop it, but if they do, you can immediately pop the camera, and then you can secure the terminal. Another strong use for the Raiden, particularly on Jill, is against trap builds. Obviously, one of the good ways to counter trap builds, such as Trap Alex, is by putting pressure on the cameras, destroying those cameras, stopping them from blowing up everything in your face, sending you flying all over the place. With Jill, with a damage build in particular, which I have previously, I'm running counter surveillance, all these damage things in EMP2. You can see you do a lot of damage to traps, effectively guaranteeing one-shotting any trap build. Even if you're going against Instant Trap Alex with fairly thick traps, they'll still get one-shotted. Make this build very effective against traps. Now, another use of the Raiden is against Ambush Annette. Now, Ambush Annette, unlike most Annette builds, is heavily reliant on her cameras, to the point where a lot of them will run shield, because they're gonna want to spawn zombies at your feet to try and bite you. But if you just pop the cameras, well, they can't really do that. And if she hasn't unleashed her whole horde of zombies, then everyone can clean up the stuff that she summoned, and you can hopefully not end up dying to it. That's one way of countering it. Again, ambush Annette, keep moving, shoot cameras. That's how you deal with it. Jill is very effective with that. Now, and one other big reason why this build, in particular, and why the Raiden is really good against ambush Annette is, well, Jill in particular, she can one-shot flimsy zombies. So builds like Ambush Annette or Alex spam builds, particularly the Area 3 spam build, allows you to deal with zombies very easily if you can get headshots. You'll kill almost every zombie in 1 or 2 hits if you manage to land headshots. There we got Yorick right here. Pop them in one shot with a Raiden. Got a trap, killed it in one shot. Camera, put it down to 20% HP. That's part of what makes this release for Jill, in particular, who I believe is the #1 user of the Raiden, very effective. But there are certain times where the Raiden is weak, and that would be against, well, even Ambush Annette, is because of Birkin. Now, normally, to break Birkin out of grabbing someone, you need a grenade, or you need to do enough stagger damage, not just raw damage, stagger damage to him while he's grabbing someone and smashing their face in. Generally, you shoot his eyeball, or you shoot him in his human face. However, the Raiden has very, very little stagger against bioweapons, and you will never peel somebody with it. Now, the fact that using a Raiden, you probably don't have a shotgun in Area 2, you can't peel. That is one weakness of the Raiden, so hopefully someone on your team can make up for that weakness. Hopefully someone else on your team has a shotgun, or maybe you've got a Tyrone, or maybe you've got Valerie with surplus, dropping you extra grenades. Always to deal with that. That is one thing to keep in mind when using the Raiden. Now, a lot of times you can get a shotgun in Area 3 to help you destroy the cores, or maybe to peel Birkin grabs. And my final recommendation of when to use the Raiden would be against the Alex spam builds. Now, you may be familiar with these. They tend to throw out a lot of infectious creatures. Sometimes they'll put energy leech on there, so a lot of times they will put traps in the build. It's usually fairly manageable in Area 1 and 2, but in Area 3 it gets really crazy. They start spamming infectious creatures like on your feet, throwing traps down. They just throw them out everywhere. The Raiden is one good way to deal with that, because that build generally wins by making you run out of resources. So, the fact that you can usually one-shot a lot of their creatures with a headshot, you don't have to expend ammo, you can put pressure on the cameras, because that build generally doesn't have shields in it, the Alex Spam build, so it allows you to put pressure on cameras for free. However, if you're going against that build, that would be the one time when someone other than January or Jill would get a Raiden. So if you're a Valerie, you might want to get that. You might want to get the Raiden to help deal with the creature spam and traps, and also help with pressuring cameras. Because that build is going to very heavily deprive you of resources. However, it should be noted that you should have another weapon, so generally a shotgun or a sledgehammer for dealing with the cores in Area 3. So you use the Raiden to deal with a lot of the chaff and to deal with the cameras, and then you switch to your big weapon, generally probably shotgun or sledgehammer again, for destroying the cores in Area 3. And I think that's generally about it for when you would realistically buy the Raiden. A lot of cases, even with Jill, you don't want the Raiden if you're going up against maybe set up net builds that have tanky creatures. You generally just want a shotgun, because the quicker you can kill things, the less stuff that she can spam. If you're going up against Daniel, never buy the Raiden, because the Raiden is not very good. It's not very effective at dealing with Mr. X, especially if you run into a Mr. X spam build. You're going to want a shotgun for that. Stagger Mr. X to down him. The Raiden's just not very good against Daniel. So you have to know your matchup, but by the time you can buy the Raiden, it'll be in Area 2, and you'll already know what kind of mastermind build that is being run. Again, to reiterate, you generally want to buy the Raiden, usually as January or Jill, against camera builds, gun builds, trap builds, also camera builds, and against a lot of flimsy creature builds such as Ambush and Net, or maybe certain Spencer builds that spam a lot of creatures. I'd also like to point out that the Raiden is weaker for dealing with lickers compared to the shotgun, because the shotgun just unlocks them and kills them, and they're pathetically easy to kill with the shotgun, but the Raiden's not as good at doing that unless you get a crit headshot and just kill them in one hit, which definitely can happen. If there are any questions, let me know, and I'll try to answer things, maybe in the comments below or on my stream if you happen to head there. Anyway, I'm Orandraku, and that is a lot of the general reasons why and when you would buy the Raiden. Mind, it is a niche weapon, you don't always want it, but those are generally the cases where you do want it. Take care everybody, I'll see you another time.